What kind of training do you need to write books? We'll talk about that on the other side of the intro. Hi, I'm John Gilstrap, author of the Jonathan Grave Thriller series, and today we're going to talk about what kind of training is necessary for people who want to become writers. I get this question quite a lot, particularly for younger people, but not always. Do I need to have an English degree? Do I need to have an MFA, Master of Fine Arts? Do I need to, have some kind of special degree to do what to write fiction? And the answer is clearly not. My background personally, my bachelor's degree is in history, my master's degree is in safety engineering, and my professional background is in explosives and hazardous materials and firefighting and personnel management and all the kinds of stuff that really has very little to do with writing. I don't think any school is necessary if your passion is to become a writer. What is necessary if your passion is to become a writer is to write and to figure out how to tell good stories well. And in order to write well, I think you have to read a lot. Figure out how other authors do the things that you wish that you had done. I'm blessed. I've been in this business a long time, and I know a lot of best-selling authors. And of the ones I can think of whose educational backgrounds I know, and quite honestly, this is not something that comes up in conversation very often, but of the ones that I know, not one of them was an English major or a fine arts major. Lawyers and doctors and a lot of cops, a lot of firefighters, federal marshals, cowboys. I know a lot of people who have had other careers, and in the sideline, they were writing books, and which speaks to me of the big X factor in writing commercial fiction in particular is the ability to tell a good story well. It's the ability to come up with interesting characters doing interesting things in interesting places, and to have a narrative pull that pulls the reader all the way through. I don't know how much of that can be taught. I certainly teach my share of seminars, and I think I can help people get to where they want to go. But the actual ability to tell a story, it's a craft, and like any craft, it has to be practiced. It certainly does not require spending $150,000 on an MFA degree or a BFA degree. I'm going to let some of my prejudice here show. I think MFA programs can be really fine, or they can be fairly damaging. In the seminars that I teach around the country, I will tell you that some of the most creatively constipated people I run into are MFA graduates. I don't understand the mechanism. I'm not disparaging them. Everybody do what they want to do. But I think there's a lot of time spent on the poetry of language. There's a lot of time spent on studying the skills and successes of other authors. And that doesn't necessarily compete with or in the commercial market for selling books. And there's a certain dismissiveness. This goes into any literary circles. This is the New York literary circles. If you read the New York Times or a lot of those publications, there are a lot of mean things said about the likes of Dan Brown and J.K. Rowling, Suzanne Collins of the Hunger Games series, and even E.L. James, who did the 50 Shades of Grey books. And they are maligned for really not being very good writers. Well, that's fine. Who's to say? I have my tastes and preferences, you have your tastes and preferences, and that's fine. But the reality is they were able to spark an interest. They were able to compel a lot of people to go and read their stories, and the stories obviously resonated with the audience. So, is that what writing is really about? I think it is. But not necessarily, not necessarily in the literary circles. In fact, I will tell you, I asked my first editor when I was first getting into this, I asked, what is the difference between commercial fiction and literary fiction? And he answered without hesitation. He said it's the ability to make a living as a writer. Now, I think it's very harsh. I think it's unfair. I also think it's funny. So the point I'm trying to make here is don't allow outside influences to keep you from chasing your dream. If you want to be a writer, write. My recommendation to writers in training, young people who are planning out their academic and career plans, who they really want to become writers, what I tell them to do is, if you can go to college and you want to go to college and you can afford to go to college, by all means do. Knowledge is good, right? That's what they say in Faber College in Animal House. It's always better to have education than not have education. But if you can't afford it, or if you don't want to do it, or if you want to become a cop or a firefighter or join the military or whatever it is you want to do, the fact that you don't go to school for writing doesn't hold you back. And if you do go to school, if you do go to college, my recommendation, if your plan is to become a writer, a fiction writer. It's a little different if you want to become a journalist. You really need to go to J school. I think that's important if you want to be a journalist. But if you want to write fiction for a living, don't study English. Don't study a BFA program or an MFA program. Study something that will make you valuable in the non-writing marketplace. Because here's the reality, folks. Like it or not, the chances of anybody getting published are small. But we in the entertainment business and the people who aspire to become writers and entertainers accept that. That's kind of built into the cake, baked into the cake, and that's fine. But the chances of you being able to make a dime right out of school are virtually nil. So my recommendation to people who are walking this path is to get a marketable skill or some marketable knowledge so that you can pay your bills during the day while you're writing at night and on weekends in the spare time. There's 24 hours in every day, and it's all about how do you want to spend it. One of the great blessings of my professional career, my non-writing career, is that my jobs have never required a lot of writing. Memos, that kind of stuff, performance appraisals, whatever. But they've never been writing centric. My jobs have always been about something else, which allowed me, when I came home and I would be writing in my spare time, and I wrote, I think, 10 of my books while I was working full time. It was fresh and it was relaxing and it was a great relief, sort of therapeutic. For me, if I had to write grants all day, or if I was writing reports or legal briefs or news articles or whatever, if my daytime job was all about writing, it would be really hard to drag myself home and then write some more. It would just, I think that would be kind of drudgery. So, kind of throw that into the mix. But my advice, my paternal advice, I've got some years on some of you folks, my advice to you is, no matter what, don't incur ridiculous college debt to become a writer, because you just don't have to do it. Now, another question I get quite often is, am I too old or too young to become a writer? Well, you know what? I'm going to address that in a separate video. Look for it. Once I haven't made it yet. Once I do, I'll be sure to go back and put a link to that video in the description here. And in fact, I'm going to link to a video I've already done on the economics of being a full-time writer, which, for those of you who are planning to do that, I think I call it "Is it time to quit the day job?" It's worth a view, and again, I'll link to that in the descriptions. So that's it for today. Please like me on Facebook, John Gilstrap Author. Subscribe to this channel, please. My website is johngilstrap.com. On Twitter, I am at John Gilstrap. You catching the theme here? All right, and if you don't do any of that stuff, as always, take care and keep reading. I'm John Gilstrap.